Now, when you were toddlers, your size was small, you could sleep in a cot, you didn't know how to walk, you couldn't talk, you cried for everything, sometimes you giggled also, but otherwise the activities were quite restricted. As you grew, your height increased, you could started walking, you started talking, you could express, you could understand instructions, you could go to toilet yourself, you could eat yourself, all these changes were happening. But these changes were only growth, mainly growth you can say, and they involved increase in size, weight and so on. But what happened say from last year when you were in class 8 or 9? Some changes started developing. There was thin hair growing on your faces. There was growth of thick hair in the armpits and the genital area between the thighs. Now, these are the common changes that happened both in the case of boys as well as girls. But there were some changes which were different among the boys and the girls. In the case of boys, there were more facial hair. The chest became wide. The voice turned deep. And in the case of girls, the breast developed. The tips of the breasts, the nipples darkened and the menstruation started. All these changes are different from the changes that occurred before. What is the difference? These are the changes that are concerning the reproductive organs, the sexual characters and the secondary sexual characters. There was also development of ovary and testis, but that of course we can't see. But these changes we can see, and they happen during adolescence. What is adolescence? The period of a spurt of growth, rapid growth that happens. There is increase in height, there are these secondary sexual characters developing, and this time when these changes occur, it is called puberty. And the adolescence in the case of boys is from 14 to 18 years, and in case of girls it is from say 10, or these days it is can be at 10 also, otherwise 11 to 15 in the case of female. So, these changes start occurring. You know, when a girl is born, even at that time there are many immature ova in her ovary, but they are not matured. The reproductive organs become active only during puberty, and the menstruation is a signal that the ovaries have started functioning. So, from there we will move on to the reproductive system of human beings, both male as well as female. The parts of the male reproductive organ are testis, epididymis, vas deferens, urinogenital duct, now the testes are not inside the body, they are outside the body, inside a sac called scrotum. Now, why are they outside the body? Because the formation of testis needs lower temperature than body temperature. So, they are well secured in a loose sac like structure called scrotum. There are two testes. Now, around the testis there is epididymis. So, the function of testis is to produce sperms. These sperms are not yet mature, they can't move. So, it is in the epididymis that further development of sperms takes place. The epididymis continues as a tubular structure of vas deferens which transports the sperms. There are some glands also associated with it, and the glands are prostate gland, and the seminal vesicle. These glands produce fluid which helps in the transportation of the sperms, and also they provide nutrition to the sperms. And once the vas deferens reaches near the area of the urinary bladder, it receives a duct from the urinary bladder as well, the urethra, and then it is a common passage for both sperms as well as urine. So, it is called urinogenital duct. Now, this urinogenital duct has to have an organ for the release of sperms, and that organ is penis, which has a special type of tissue that helps it to become erect during sexual intercourse. So, these are the parts. We can draw the diagram. This is the scrotum, which has testis. Around it is the epididymis, from which arises the vas deferens. Now, it is this vas deferens which receives urethra from urinary bladder, and it then continues like urinogenital duct, and this is inside a penis. This is your urinogenital duct. This is penis, testis, vas deferens. You know, when you are labeling a diagram, all your labels should be on one side at same distance. The diagram looks neat and it is easy to understand. Now, here it also receives, there is seminal vesicle and there is prostate gland. The seminal vesicle, here I have to go a little outside, produces a fluid which is called semen. It is a thick viscous fluid which provides medium for sperms to swim in. So, a sperm has a main body which has a nucleus, a middle piece and a tail. Now, these sperms, where do they go? They have to meet the ova. How will they meet? One way can be that they have to be released in the surrounding environment, as happens in the case of fishes and frogs. They release the sperms in water, and that fertilization is called external fertilization because it takes place outside the body. But in the case of mammals and birds, the fertilization is not external, it is internal, inside the body. Which body? The female body. So, these sperms are released in the female genital tract when the sexual contact is taking place, right. So, that means the two individuals, male and female, they join together and then the sperms get released in the female genital tract, and where many sperms are released, but only one is able to reach the ova. Rest perish during the race itself. So, the race begins from there only, as they said in Three Idiots. The sperms are released in the female body. Now, what happens in the female body? Where are the reproductive organs of the female? That's what is our next topic. Just like males have testes as their reproductive organ that produces sperms, which organ is there in the females? Yes, ovaries, and there are two ovaries. So, what is the difference? Ovary produces female gamete while testis produces male gamete. Another very important difference is in its location. Testis is outside the body in the scrotum, but ovary is in the abdomen inside the body, right. Now, the ovaries produce ova. They also produce a hormone that we did when we were studying hormones, and that is estrogen, while the hormone produced by the testis is testosterone. The ovaries are, just close to the ovaries there are fallopian tubes. These fallopian tubes are also called oviducts. See, it is not like as if the tube is starting from the ovary. No, if this is the ovary, then just close to it there are finger like processes, that is the tip of the oviduct, the fimbriae. This then leads to the oviduct. Like this. So, these are the oviducts. Of course, oviducts are thinner, and the two oviducts join together to form uterus. These are the oviducts, and this is the ovary. The uterus opens into the vagina. Now, after the ova has been produced, there are many ova, immature ova in the case of females, but only one ova matures every month. This ova just squeezes out of the ovary. I am using the word squeezes out, and is picked up by the fimbriae and moves on to the oviduct. There it stays for a while, you can say waiting for a sperm. Now, if a sperm reaches, then the fertilization will take place. So, we can say the site of fertilization is oviduct. Now, then the two oviducts join together to form uterus, and the further development of zygote takes place in uterus. But the story is not so simple. There are many things that happen prior to that. Every month when the ova is maturing or is being developed, at that time along with that the uterus also develops a lining which is thick and spongy. It is full of blood. Why so? So that the young embryo can be nourished. So, there is a preparation at two angles or two levels. One is maturation of ova, second is development of thick spongy lining on the uterus. Now, if the ova is fertilized and a zygote is formed in the oviduct, it moves on to the uterus, where it forms a connection with the wall of the uterus, and this connection is a vascular connection. What does that mean? This through blood, and this is called placenta. Why blood is needed? Remember, function of blood is to transport oxygen, nutrients, waste products. Same function here also. The young embryo cannot eat on its own. It is developing inside, so it requires food, it requires nutrients, it requires oxygen. And from where will it come? It will come from the mother's body through uterus. This placenta has finger-like processes called villi. On the side of the embryo, there are these finger-like processes, and on the side of mother's uterine wall, there are blood spaces around the villi, so that oxygen and food can pass on from mother to the embryo, and the embryo uses them, and when they are used, naturally there will be waste products. They cannot be afforded to left in the embryo, they have to be removed. So, they will move on to the mother's body. Now, do you realize what all a mother does? Not only she provides food and oxygen, it also removes the waste products, and that is what she keeps on doing the whole of her life. Whenever there is a difficulty, she is there for you. Whenever you need anything, when you grow up, maybe you do not need food, but you need her advice, you need her experience. So, that is what she starts right after the zygote is formed. And this is how it keeps getting nourishment. After 9 months, when the embryo is fully developed, first it is fetus and then it is fully developed, then the child is delivered. How does it come out? Is there a surgical way of? No. Of course, these days there are surgical ways also, but there is a natural method also, and that natural method is that there is contraction and relaxation of uterus which pushes the baby out. So, baby comes out of the vagina and then the umbilical cord is cut, because then otherwise the child cannot come out. Now, see, this is another interesting thing. Now, the child is there as long as it can remain there. Once it is fully developed, it has to come to the outer world. Just like when you are still studying, you remain in the protection of your home. Once you are grown up, you will go and conquer the world, and then parents will encourage you to go. So, as you keep developing, the things also keep changing. Just like when the fetus is fully developed, it comes out of the womb. However, the events are different if fertilization does not take place. Every time fertilization may not take place. Then what will happen? Ova was here, it did not meet any sperm, it will come down, it will slowly degenerate, and along with it, this lining of the uterus will also degenerate and come out as blood and mucus. That is what is menstruation. So, after the puberty, the girls start menstruating, which just means that their ova are ready. Now, their ovaries are functional, but that is at a very tender age, when they are just about 11, 12 or 13. Now, at that time, if they get into a sexual contact or if they get into intimate relations, there is a chance of pregnancy, which can be dangerous, because the child, the girl child, is neither physically nor mentally prepared to take care of the child. So, what to do? That is what we are going to study the next.